Hello everyone, Lazy Gardener here. It's June 13th, 2021, and it's spring's almost over. I think it's a great time to take a tour of the garden and see how everything's coming along. Before I get started, I just want to say thank you very much to my family. I suffered a shoulder injury and I'm still recovering from that, but they've helped me a lot so that I've been able to keep on track, and it's also amazing what you can do if you're determined with just one arm in the garden. But let's get started. Okay, so these are my first zones, and in here we have potatoes. I just planted them so you don't really see anything. This is a good place to start out. You'll see throughout the garden during the pandemic, my son and I kind of came up with these little customized garden sticks or garden labels, and I had a lot of fun printing them out with him. So let's get over here. We can start out now and move over to the hot peppers. The yellow ones are the hot peppers and these are the sweet peppers. If you see here, they're really doing great. These I actually planted in November and I grew outdoors for a while, and I put them out here and they just exploded. And the rest of these were just planted more of a normal timing, and you can see how much farther behind they are, but they're coming along beautifully. Next to them I have sweet potatoes. I haven't grown sweet potatoes in a few years, so we'll see how it goes. It's one of those items that I'm not super experienced with, and we'll see whether or not I have any issues, but sweet potatoes aren't that hard to grow and they're doing great so far, so I think we'll have a great year. We'll see how that goes by the end of the season. Moving along, we have my pumpkins, and over there is pumpkins, here's spaghetti squash, and there's butternut. And traditionally I grew these in the back, and last year I had such a problem with squash bugs, I realized I really needed to move my stuff around, and look, so far they look pretty good and pretty clean. So hopefully we'll have a great year for those. Now we're going to move into the main tomato section, or my early tomato section. These are doing really beautifully. We had those late frosts last year, so I planted these a little later because I was concerned. Obviously it turned out not to be much of a concern, but I don't think the tomatoes care at all. They're really booming. They're just starting. You can kind of get in here, you can see they're just starting to flower. This was probably going to just start to set some tomatoes. Hopefully by July we'll have some tomatoes. But yeah, they're doing really great. Over here, zucchini. Well, this is summer squash, yellow. Middle one is green. And back to the yellow. And again, I think if you can see this one, I don't know if that's going to set, but we're starting to get zucchinis. We'll have them very soon. Moving over here, garlic. This is half of the garlic. I haven't bought garlic probably in about 12 or 13 years, because I'll grow an entire year's supply. I think I have a video on that from last year, which should be very useful, but they're doing really great. And they'll be ready for harvest in just a couple of weeks. They've already put off the scapes, which is where they flower. And after that, they're bulbing up nicely. And we'll get some beautiful garlic harvest. Over here we have fava beans. These look really nice. They are getting attacked a little by some aphids, but I've seen that ladybugs have been moving in. I don't see any right this second, but this morning I saw a whole bunch of ladybugs on here, and hopefully they'll be able to help with that aphid infestation. It's very common with favas to get aphids. Okay, that's the middle of the orchard. We can go now go down to the lower section of the orchard. All right, now we're in the lower part of the orchard, and in this first section here I have the earliest potatoes I planted. They are beautiful, they look fantastic, and I'm really hoping for a great crop in here. And you can see they're just finishing up on their flowering, which means here, if you can see some flowers, they're setting potatoes. Actually, potatoes have beautiful flowers. People don't realize that. Moving along, we have my cucumbers. We have some more cucumbers in the upper area, but these are my second batch of cucumbers. We just planted them. It's two different kinds. One is more of a pickling and one is more of a fresh salad type. And we've got our little setup rig so that these guys can grow three-dimensionally. After that, we have some onions. These onions are interesting. I started these onions from seeds. That's the first time I have ever started onions from seeds. Normally you start them from what are called sets or or live plants. The sets are these little like dime-sized little onion bulbs that you put in the ground, and I'll show you a problem with why I'm trying to avoid that, and they're also more expensive, but we'll see how this goes. But if you can zoom in over here, you can see that they're really starting to bulk up. We can start eating these right away, anytime until now, until they're done. I've already started picking some fresh onions. Over here, we have these three are Brussels sprouts, and this is a cabbage. I have them in these cages that we made to keep the white, it's called an imported cabbage moth, which keeps those white moths with little black dots on their wings to keep them off of there. There are very rude hosts, very rude guests. They will eat your stuff and crap all over it and make it really undesirable to eat. So that's why we put these on here. They seem to be doing really well. I had some late lettuce I planted here. I did that because I knew that the other lettuce I planted, which we can see up there, will bolt, which means go to flower. And so this way we can extend our lettuce season. Over here we have some more cabbages. This is a Portuguese type cabbage called tranchuda. And over here, these are Savoy cabbages. They're that wrinkly leaf, and they will make really some giant heads of cabbage, at least if all goes well. If we can bring this around, we can kind of go down here to this next section where we really have beets. This is some overwintering cabbage. This cabbage overwintered. People don't realize cabbage is actually a perennial. And if you see what happens here, this is without the cages on it, without those screens. It's just going to turn everything to Swiss cheese. I'm going to pull this out, but I just thought I would leave it for another day or two so you could see what this was a Brussels sprout, what it would look like if it overwintered. And it'll probably start doing like little mini cabbages or mini Brussels sprouts. But again, I'm just going to rip that out. Over here we have beets. If you can see in here, the beets, we've already picked several large beets, but there's plenty here. Here's a nice one. That's a yellow beet. There's yellow, white, and red in here, and it's really nice to have the various colors. That's also some more cabbage that overwintered, and again, if I don't rip that out, those moths are just going to eat the entire thing and make it just gross. And a random sunflower that came up that I left. Oh, okay, moving along. Okay, there's more onions. You can't really grow enough onions, in my opinion. These were grown from the sets. So they do seem like, at least objectively, they're farther ahead, though the bulbing section, the other onions are bigger. But see, this is what happens. This is an onion that is bolting or going to go to flower, and it's going to create a very hard stem and a very small onion. And the reason why that happens with the onion sets is that those tiny little onions that you plant, they're tricked into thinking that it's the same season. They keep them in cold storage. But sometimes they do think that they realize that they really actually overwintered, and then they go to flower. Onions are a biennial plant. All right, keep moving along. We've got another slightly later planted batch of potatoes. These are Kennebec. Those are red potatoes. These are like more of a yellow type potato. And they really haven't, they're just starting to flower. That's about how far they are behind that. They're about 2 weeks behind the other ones, but hopefully they look great. Hopefully get another great batch of potatoes here. Over here, the peas. These are snow peas. I got 3 different kinds here. These are actually fantastic raw. Delicious. Tons of them on here. There's also snap peas, which are the the thicker pods. And then over here, excuse me, don't eat on camera. These are shelling peas. These will blow up and make some really nice big peas. And behind here, we have some later tomatoes that I planted. If you watched my videos last year, you'll know that disease is going to strike every tomato you plant. It's just going to happen. There are lots of strategies for trying to minimize the disease, but the absolute best strategy I've come up with that is far and away better than all the rest is plant more tomatoes and stagger them out, plant them later, and so as the earlier crop of tomatoes starts to succumb to disease and starts to become less productive, these will just be kicking in and we'll enjoy tomatoes all season. I actually have one more batch that I'm going to put in that's going to be a little later. Over here, we've got beans. Beans. These are a Portuguese type bean called Mantra. that's large and flat, very similar to the type of Italian beans people grow. These are fantastic, fresh eating, for soup, for shelling, basically drying, anything you can do with a bean. These are fantastic, so I'm going to grow a ton of these this year. Over here, we have broccoli. The broccoli, we've already harvested a bunch of broccoli. It put up some meager side shoots and I didn't get to them in time, so that's what broccoli looks like when it's flowering. If you can kind of show over here, these are better side shoots. These need to be cut today, and we'll get to those shortly. This system, again, these we made with my son Jared this year. They're much larger to contain these much taller type plants, and again, to keep those friggin' white moths away. Those things suck. And then just lastly over here, we have some more Portuguese cabbage. We really like this stuff. It's good for soups and freezing and all kinds of things. It's really delicious. And so I'm growing some extra of that. And we have one more section of the garden to see, which is up by the house. So why don't we take a quick pause and head up towards over there. All right, so we're at the what I like to call on the patio garden. Over here we have carrots, and they're doing really great. They are getting like minorly attacked by these, which are called parsley worms. They're actually quite beautiful and turn into beautiful butterflies, but they will decimate. They will decimate everything they eat, and they're not really great guests. So we're just going to give that guy a toss. Moving through, I have some extra onions here. It's a little weird. I put down some leaf mulch, and it seemed like they got like a fungus or something. I think they're recovering from it nicely, but they don't look as optimal as they should. They may be getting some attacked by some bugs too, but a little more onions, because you're never going to have enough onions. Over here we have lettuce that's gone to flower. We were eating and eating and eating this, but this is what happens when lettuce, it's called bolting. You see it kind of shoots up, and it'll put off really beautiful flowers, and we can get some new lettuce seed from it, but this is inedible. Moving through, we have, I had some spinach growing over there, and that's cilantro. That cilantro actually overwintered by itself, and it's going to seed. We might harvest some coriander from that, but that cilantro is pretty much done. And this is New Zealand spinach, which comes up every year in this one spot. Over here we have some potatoes. I actually did not plant these potatoes. I had put potatoes in this box last year, and I guess I must have missed a few potatoes because they came up. And eventually, in short order, I'm going to rip all this out. Maybe I'll get some small baby new potatoes from all this, but I actually am going to put soybeans here. Over there we have string beans just coming up, but that'll be a nice healthy crop of string beans. And moving over here, we have the other half of my garlic. I don't think I'd plant them in this box again. They don't seem to really love it right here. There's actually a very strong breeze that comes through here, and you know, when you have a large garden, you really got to worry about like microclimates. Each box may experience a different set of circumstances. You got to be, kind of gets complicated what you want to put where, but I don't think I would put garlic here. But I have plenty, and this will be more than enough. All right, moving through. This is actually, if you can catch that, that's a beautiful grapevine. Here, why don't we see if we can show what little baby grapes look like. Here, that's what a baby grapes look like. And we're gonna move into the greenhouse now. This is the arugula. We ate so much arugula. This is just now gonna go to seed, and then I'll rip that out. It's basically done. Over here is where we had the main crop of our lettuce, which I've pretty much pulled out as it also bolted, and I don't need that. Here we have my earlier cucumbers. By planting them in here, that is the white moss I'm talking about, and those guys are the worst. They don't really bother the cucumbers though, so I'm not exactly sure what he's doing in here. He's probably trying to get at the cabbages in the corner. But see, these cucumbers were just planted a few weeks earlier than the other one, and inside the greenhouse you can see they really exploded. Over here we just have some more cabbage, just a little extra, and some basil and some parsley, and that is pretty much the garden tour. So I hope you enjoyed yourself, and I'll see you soon with another video. Take care.